So this conversation is a complicated one because, like, my question. So I guess I have a couple questions. Okay. First question is, if I had told somebody I'm a shaman, why would that bother somebody? Second question, why? So Terence McKenna said culture is not your friend. There's he meant probably a lot by that, but something I feel like he meant is it's like culture is not your friend because culture isn't really real. Human being is real. A soul inside of a body, Homo sapien, is real. But like cultures is not real because they're just traditions passed on from generation to generation. Um, but with the internet and the blending of cultures, um, culture is becoming more fluid than ever, and I feel like people's ego gets too involved because that's my second question is like, so I could see in the beginning of my YouTube journey, in the beginning of my psychedelic journey, I could see that for some reason I would say I'm a shaman and it would bother people. Or like, I don't know how to explain it. I would sit there and talk about how like I use DMT and how I use DMT. It would bother people. So like people would, you could be in a conversation. Now this isn't just people on the internet. Like this is actual people in my real life type shit. Where it's like I could conversate and talk about my psychedelic usage, and they almost roll their eyes, say I'm abusing it, and say all these things, and it's an immediate ego response. It is their ego that is, I don't know what the words, like I don't know if they're jealous, I don't know if they're angry, and why would they be angry? Why would you be upset with a human being who they are? The reason is because you think you know that human being more than they know themselves, or like people will always have something to say about people they don't even know. So it's like me, like I've heard people kind of not talk shit about Kalindi E, but like I have so much respect for Kalindi E. I have so much like inspiration from that dude. One day I'm gonna trip like him. One day I'm gonna take that 20 dry grams of mushroom trip and and go in one day. But until I grow enough balls to do that, I've been just smoking high doses of DMT, using psychedelics, and pushing it and going deep with it and using the plants and herbs and doing all this stuff. Because that's me. That's my journey. Just like Kalindi E's journey was taking the 20, 30 dried grams of mushrooms, and that was how he tripped. He was never telling people, like he wasn't advertising, this is how you use psychedelic mushrooms, because the way he used mushrooms was not normal. Like, it wasn't the normal way to use mushrooms, but that was his journey. Just like the way I've used DMT and psychedelics and the plants and herbs, and I call it like I went down the journey to become a modern day shaman. The reason why I say this is because that is my journey. People who may be psychonauts that wanted to be shamans but cared more about what other people thought about them than what they think about themselves, so then they see someone who did the thing that they wanted to do and they get mad about it. That's what it looks like to me. Like, that's what it looks like. And if that's not what it is, then maybe I'm just seeing this wrong, but I cannot think of any other idea of why somebody wouldn't like Kalindi E. Why I've heard people talk shit about Kalindi E, and every time they talk shit about him, they always mention his dosages, the doses of mushrooms that he would take, the trips that he would go on. He was not doing what other people are doing. It's the same reason why I'm diving into the psychedelic world. I'm not tripping. Like, Kalindi E wasn't tripping. He was diving into that world. There's an entire tryptamine world. Like, Terence McKenna talked about the tryptamine world. Like, there was a world, and you can access it. But the way that Terence McKenna accessed it is different than the way I access it. It's going to be different for every other human being in the way that they access it. But if you listen to the outside more than you listen to the inside, you're not going to be on your journey. Like, your journey is different than mine. It's different than Kalindi E. It's different than Terrence McKenna. But if you're the guy that's judging Terrence McKenna for how he did psychedelics, or like, and I don't want to play the whatever, but why do nobody? I hear nobody judging Terrence McKenna, but I see people judging Kalindi E. Like, and yeah, Kalindi E was taking 15 grams more of mushrooms than Terrence, but like, his intention was pure. Obviously, his intention was pure, or he wouldn't be able to take those high doses. Like, other people, their intention is not as pure, so they can't take the high doses, because when they get up to the high doses, it scares them. But Kalindi E, he had to have learned how to let go and how to just let it happen. And his intention was to go deep, travel, communicate with entities, and all this other shit that he was doing. That was his thing. Now, my thing was my thing, because I got the calling towards this. I call it modern day shamanism. But the reason why I call it modern day shamanism is because shamanism is not a Native American thing. Like, I'm so sick and tired of people sitting here being like, you can't call yourself a shaman because you're not Native American, when shamanism is originally an Asian thing. Now, it's originally an Asian thing because Native Americans and Asians share an ancestor, like a distant ancestor. So it's also the reason why the Chinese have the 52 Chinese herbs, and like the Native Americans have like shamanism and the Native American herbs, and like these two cultures use herbs in their lifestyle, right? Now, Africans also used herbs in their lifestyle. Their shamanism was called voodoo. Now, we have been brainwashed to think voodoo is bad and shamanism is good, or shamanism is good and paganism is bad, or whatever, when they're all just the same thing. Just different cultures will name the word a different thing. Like, you can call a pair of scissors a pair of scissors, or a pair of shears. They're both the same type thing. Now, there is slight differences, but just like there is slight differences in paganism, shamanism, modern day shamanism, herbalism, there's something happening in the world, and that there's so many people that just got their ego, all the panties all up in a bunch, because they are not doing what they want to do. Like, why is somebody getting mad at me because I take plants and herbs when they could take plants and herbs? Why is somebody getting mad at me for the way that I trip when they could trip that same way? And if they don't want to trip that same way, then why would they be upset with how someone decides to live their life? Like, the way someone else lives their life is none of my business. So, I feel like people think just because you put yourself out there, like, I put myself out there, I talk about my journey, I talk about my trips, I talk about what I did with the plants and herbs, like, I'm documenting shit. So, like, people will put their opinions into what they see, which is fine. Everyone's opinion is great. Like, this is why I truly don't care what people think about me, because if I did, I would be hesitant to be me. Like, the reason why people are hesitant to call themselves a modern day shaman, or why people are hesitant to dive deep with psychedelics, or why people are hesitant to work on themselves, why people are hesitant to speak their mind, why people are hesitant to live the lifestyle that they want to live. The reason is because they care way too much what other people think, and they don't care enough about what they think about themselves. They don't care enough about how they feel in the 24 hours in the day. Like, there is this thing, there's intuition in us, right? Everyone has if you follow your intuition, it'll put you in the place that you were meant to be. I followed my intuition, and it put me in the place that I was meant to be. Like, this past year has literally been the best year that I have ever had in my entire life. Like, I mean, yeah, I've had greater moments or whatever, but this was the most progress that I've ever had in 1 year. Like, I healed my mental health issues. I say this all the time. I used to self-harm. I used to cut myself. I used to, the list goes on. I used to have depression. I used to have anxiety. The list goes on. I've built the relationship with my daughter. Like, I've fixed the relationship with my daughter and the bond with my daughter this past year. I've just done these things that I needed to do for myself, to then, by the end of it, in my head, think to myself, well, this is what I meant by me saying I was trying to become a modern day shaman. people who think shamanism is a Native American thing will look at Native Americans and say, if you're not doing this, you're not a shaman. When if Native Americans never existed, shamanism would still exist. Like, it's just some other culture would have done it. Or maybe we wouldn't be talking about shamanism, maybe we'd be talking about voodoo, or maybe we'd be talking about whatever. But no matter what word you call it, it's the same thing. Using molecules to get to know yourself. Using molecules to figure out your place in the universe, to figure out, other shit, to find, just to travel. Like, if you look at the definition of a shaman up, it says nothing about a Native American, and it says nothing about a Chinese, it says nothing about Asians, it says nothing about a race. It's a person or a human being that, something about travels through dimensions or whatever the fuck, right? But that's what I do. I looked up the definition of shamanism and shaman, and I'm like, well, that's what I do. And before I even got into psychedelics, my intention was shamanic. My intention was I got the calling, and I didn't get the calling from the Native Americans. I got the calling from the plants themselves. I got the calling from DMT itself. I got the calling from the molecules. So then I pick up the phone with each molecule that I get the calling from. I pick up the phone with each plant I get the calling from. And when I pick up the phone, I build a relationship. I build a friendship. I literally have a real friendship with these plants. Like, I cannot explain it, because if you don't, I guess every shaman on the planet would understand, but people who are not doing these things shamanically, they don't understand. So, I wasn't doing this to heal myself. Healing myself was just a byproduct of going on the shamanic journey. It's not like I did DMT or did mushrooms or did LSD and thought to myself, I'm going to heal my anxiety with this. No, it never crossed my mind. What I was trying to do is travel dimensions. What I was trying to do is, if I met an entity, I'm trying to go meet more entities. What I'm trying to do is, if I meet Mother Ayahuasca, I'm trying to meet her again. What I was trying to do is learn and pull out information and build myself into the man I wanted to be and fix my own personality, because I used to be a thug. So I would use the psychedelics to continuously punch my ego in the face until it was weak enough for me to take control of myself, for me to gain control of the way I think. I used to have negative thinking non-stop. I used to be angry. I used to be this. I used to be the list goes on. But I fixed it all and healed it all. But this conversation goes along with everything, because I healed my mental health issues. When I say that, it pisses people off for some reason. I'm like, no wonder why happiness is a rare thing in the world. Because I can say, I'm depressed, I have depression, and then somebody will say, don't worry, man, you're not alone, we all have it, it's okay, it's just a normal thing. But if I say, I'm happy as fuck, life's great, it's the best time, it's the best year I've ever had, it almost sounds like I'm bragging, when I'm just proud of myself for doing the things that I said to myself that I would do. I told myself that I wanted to become a modern day shaman. So I went on the journey for myself. I don't know why the fuck other people do psychedelics or what they're doing, because a lot of people are it's almost like they only do psychedelics if they can get a trip report video involved, or if they can, get some views involved, or if they can, whatever. There's always some ulterior motive other than just wanting to go on the journey, other than the calling. If there's any other reason besides the calling, then yeah, don't call yourself a modern day shaman. That's why I made the video in the difference between modern day shaman and a psychonaut. Most people are just psychonauts, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. But some people are modern day shamans, and I'm hoping that the modern day shaman, maybe one guy will watch my video and be like, it's okay to be a shaman? I don't have to be Native American? I don't have to be in Asia? I don't have to, no, you don't have to be Native American. We have been brainwashed to think that you have to be a certain color, a certain race, a certain whatever. We've been brainwashed to think that the gatekeepers of shamanism are the Native Americans, when there is no gatekeepers. There is Now, the only gatekeepers are the people that are telling you that you can't be a modern day shaman. The people that are telling you that you can't do this, or you can't turn your life into your job. You can't live that way. You can't do psychedelics the way you're doing. You can't do what you want to do. You can't. You have to live life this way, or you have to, like, no, I don't have to do anything, and neither do you. No matter what you see outside in the world, that's not real. What is real is what you feel. So, like, information, like, I'm talking about this because my last video, I've got some messages and some people basically saying that, like, saying that I'm a modern day shaman is, like, almost disrespectful. And I'm sitting here like, it is disrespectful as all hell to sit here and tell me that I have to be a certain race to be what I am. That's fucking ridiculous to me. And it's unconscious. People are so unconscious, so ego, that they think their knowledge is how I should live. I will never tell you that my knowledge is how you should live. I'm literally only showing you and telling you how I live, how I think. This is just me. And I would never tell someone to be a modern day shaman. I'm just telling you me. I'm showing you me. I'm showing you my thoughts. I'm showing you my life. I'm showing you my pain and suffering. I'm showing you that I'm just a person. I might be a modern day shaman, but I wasn't born that way. I made myself into what I wanted to be. You can make yourself into whatever you want to be. You gotta stop listening to other people because they are putting your, like, because yeah, my dream, like, because people are basically putting me down for my dream. Before I did psychedelics, my dream was to be a gangster, a thug, run the streets, and blah, 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 to be a rapper, and all that other shit. When I did psychedelics, my dream was to become a modern day shaman. That was my dream. That was my imagination. That was me listening to Terrence McKenna, me watching shaman documentaries, me doing the psychedelics, saying, why can't I be that? I can. And like, you can. You can be anything you want if you're willing to do the work behind that thing that you want. Like, the reason why a lot of people are not like modern day shamans, and they're psychonauts, but they're not modern day shamans, is because they're not willing to do the shamanic work. Shamanic work isn't, you don't gotta go down to Peru, because it has nothing to do with a certain race or a certain area. All it has to do with is a soul inside of a human body connecting with the plants, connecting with the molecule, like getting the calling from the plants. Are the plants calling you? Are they screaming for you? Are they trying to get your attention? If not, or if you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Then you're probably just a psychonaut. For me, the plants they were calling me. Like, calling me. I do not know how to explain it. But I've tried over 40 different plants and herbs. I say this all the time. I went on plant dietas with a lot of them because, like, the plant dietas I went on, the Native Americans do not use those plants. They don't use the plants that I've used for the plant dietas because I'm my own person. With shamanism, you follow a tradition. But with the original shamanism, there was no tradition. The original shamans didn't have a tradition. Like, the first shamans got the calling the same way I did, which was they just got the calling from the plants. Like, before the culture got involved, before, like, if you go far back enough in history, eventually the plants are just trying to find somebody to talk to so they can communicate and whatever. Because most humans are just ignoring Mother Nature, ignoring the calling, ignoring the signs. So Mother Nature, if she sees a human being who actually pays attention to the signs, pays attention to their intuition, pays attention to this thing, they might try to push the calling towards them. And the calling has changed over the past 1,000 years. But it's been happening since the beginning of time. Planet Earth trying to communicate with its beings. And most humans just don't pay attention. And that's fine, because they're using the psychedelics to try to heal themselves. They're using the psychedelics to try to whatever. And the byproduct of going on the shamanic journey is what they're looking for, like healing yourself. People are looking for enlightenment. People are looking for all these things. When I was never looking for enlightenment, I was never looking to heal myself. I was never looking for any of that. Like, I didn't even know what enlightenment was when I started my psychedelic journey. Like, at all. I had no idea what enlightenment was. Like, I had no idea about Buddhism or Hinduism or any of that when I started my journey. It was after I started my psychedelic journey, that's when I started researching the things. Like, in the beginning, all I really knew was a little bit about shamanism, you know? Like, it wasn't... I had to make sure shit don't burn. But I guess I just made this video because a lot of people talk about, like, how I live my life, or, like, a lot of people will have their own opinions about what I do and how I live and how I think and what I say and what I say I am. But I am what I am. Like, it's not like I can change my skin tone. I am who I am. So my thing is, to people that, like, judge others, stop judging people. Like, you can judge me all day. Like, it's not going to bother me whatsoever. I'm still going to be me, 24/7, no matter what. But other humans don't have that same that I have. Meaning, somebody can call me all the names in the book. Somebody can call me a loser, say I'm going to fail, say you'll never be a shaman, say all this shit, and I'm still going to do my journey. I don't care what they say about my life. They don't have to live my life. I do. And if they're judging someone else, thank God I don't gotta live their life. Because I don't judge people in that way. Maybe because I've been homeless before. I've gone through a lot of shit in my life. So I don't judge people for the way they live their life. I respect people for the decisions they make in their life and what they do and how they live their life. So, like, I've seen yogis that are white that I would consider real yogi masters, that it might even be more real of a yogi master than the yogis in India right now. Like, there's shamans that I've seen that are white that seem more of a real shaman than some Native American shamans I've seen, because this is not about a skin tone or a race or a culture. This is a thing. Like, a scientist, a doctor, a modern day shaman, like, these are things. A doctor is not Indian, even though there's a lot of Indian doctors in the hospital. Like, a doctor can be a girl, boy, Indian, black, white, Hispanic. Like, a doctor can be any of them. A modern day shaman can be black, white, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, a mix in between, African, like, the whole fucking thing. That doesn't matter. Australian, like, a shaman. A modern day shaman is a shaman. Like, it is what it is. Just like a scientist is a scientist. If you did the thing behind it, then you are it. But if you didn't do the thing behind it, then you're not it. If you didn't go to medical school, you're not a doctor. But in medical school, you had to do the work. There's a lot of work you had to do. Just like over the past 8 years, it's been 8 years of me on this shamanic journey. 8 years into it, I feel like I can now say I'm a modern day shaman. This whole 8 years, I was literally just talking about I'm on the journey to become a modern day shaman. I would talk about I'm on the journey. After I did the plants and herbs, went on these plantatas, did all these things, I then am able to say it. Now, Kalindi E, Terrence McKenna, they didn't say that they were modern day shamans. They didn't say, right? Because really they were psychonauts. Like, Kalindi E, it's not like he was using the plants and herbs. His thing was the mushroom and diving deep with the mushroom. Terrence McKenna's thing was the mushroom and other psychedelics, but, like, they weren't using the plants and herbs. They didn't get called from the plants like I did. And I have no idea why, but it's just what happened to me, and it's what I'm interested in. I love to take a plant and then turn it into multiple different types of extracts and multiple different types of things. And from one plant, I could have 2 completely separate types of products, a water-soluble extract and an alcohol-soluble extract. And they have almost completely different effects. And you could travel and learn from the plants in many different ways. And maybe the alcohol extract might benefit you more than the water extract, or vice versa. Like, that's the shaman journey. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but that was my journey. And no one will ever make me feel bad for doing what was best for me. Because before this, I was self-harming, I had anxiety, I wasn't as good of a father as I am. Like, so I don't feel bad about anything I have done when it comes to psychedelics and the plants and herbs, calling myself a modern-day shaman. Yeah, even if I said I'm a shaman, if that bothers you, then there's something wrong with you. It's not the other way around. Because somebody calling themselves something shouldn't bother you. Like, unless you want to be that something too, but you just, it's one of those things. So, I don't know, just worry about your journey. Be you. I would never sit there and put Kalindi E down because he's done way more mushrooms in a dose than I would ever do or whatever. No. That was his journey. He had a different intention than everybody. If you're the type of guy that does an eighth of mushrooms and has fun with your friends or whatever, you are not doing what Kalindi E was doing. You're not even thinking about the same things he was thinking about. Like, so it's just about understanding that we all have our own life. We all are individuals. We all are our own person. We all have our own journey to go on.